I think too often in this ballistic game we all like to play, that we're chasing the wrong thing sometimes, particularly when it comes to hunting and long range and bullet selection and caliber and cartridge and all those things. Now recently, in pursuit of a long range, heavy caliber, heavy for caliber elk gun, I've been chasing down the 7 PRC. I spent a lot of time, a lot of ammo, a lot of money so far, trying to find a load that works really well in the rifle that I got. But I think I've been chasing the wrong 7mm this whole time. So in this video today, I want to talk to you about something I think is a better option for the 7mm specifically for most shooters, even at extended ranges, than something like the 7 PRC or 7 Rim Mag. While they are great cartridges and they offer a lot downrange, especially when it comes to heavy for caliber, bullet weights, and high ballistic coefficients at super long ranges, it's actually not very practical or useful or necessary for most shooters on most game at most ranges. And I think there's a better option for the 7mm out there than the 7 PRC. Let's talk about that. Welcome back to the shop today. Thank you for joining me again. I love ballistics. I love playing around with ballistics and different calibers and cartridges and rifles and all those good things. And most of the time, it's just play. It's just for fun. How can I hit a target at those super long ranges consistently? How can I get these tiny groups? All these good things, and you can do it with a lot of calibers out there. There's some really great ones that are great for target shooting, long range shooting, plinking and fun, even hunting at extended distances, even larger game. But for most people, I think we've overcomplicated and maybe blurred the lines a little bit too much between practical hunting and long range shooting. And those being two different things and really kind of requiring two different cartridges. Now, most recently, I've been digging into the 7mm, 7 PRC specifically, and the 7mm offers so much as a caliber itself that I don't think you actually need a Magnum, like a 7 PRC or 7 Rim Mag or 7 Weatherby or the 280, whatever, all those other big whiz bangers that are really heavy, hard hitting calibers for ultra long range, because that's not practical for most people in most hunting scenarios. Even on larger game like elk and stuff like that, you're really not going to have a need to shoot or hunt out at those distances. So there's a 7mm I think actually fits the bill, and we're talking, let's separate this from target shooting at long range and just talk about hunting with the 7mm caliber. I think there's one that fits the bill a lot better for most people, and it's very often overlooked, and it fits right between two of the sweetheart cartridges of both the shooting and the hunting world, the 308 Winchester and the 6.5 Creedmoor. The 7mm I'm talking about fits right there in the middle. I don't actually have one on hand, so we're gonna do most of this math-wise because I don't have one of these. It's the 7mm 08. Now, some of you out there might be like, what? That is the most droll and pedestrian of cartridges I can possibly think of out there, and it's very often overlooked or ignored. Now, some people out there have it and they love it and they hunt with it all the time, and it's considered like the entry-level whitetail cartridge for new shooters and young shooters. But let's talk about the math today of why I think the 7mm 08 is an often overlooked cartridge that is actually extremely useful for big game hunting. I'm talking elk and everything at even longer distances for hunting. Now, hunting ethical distances is a debate everybody can have on their own or whatever. Get in the comments, have it down there or whatever. That's going to be different for everyone though. Like, what are you capable of taking game at extended ranges? Now, there's no argument that the 7mm caliber itself is more than capable of taking large game. Plenty of people take elk every year with the 7mm 08. Those distances are going to vary depending on the shooter and the situation though. What are you comfortable actually shooting game at long ranges with? And even if you just take the game out of the equation and you look at the 7mm 08 as a long range cartridge, it's actually a lot more viable than something like a 6.5 Creedmoor and a 308 in a lot of ways. And here's why. Let's talk about the math of it today. Let's break it down as simple as possible as we can, okay? I'm gonna go with the ballistics today that are, and I'm gonna take factory data here, right? So factory data, moderate velocity. So factory data as far as the ballistic coefficients of the bullets and stuff that I've chosen to theorize with. And the velocities, I'm going kind of moderate based off of box posted velocities, reloading velocities, that kind of thing. And I'm gonna compare it directly to the 7 PRC and show you the difference between the two. and why there's really not that big a difference, and why it may not make practical sense for most people to be shooting a 7 PRC when a 7mm will do. Let's start with a baseline of comparable bullets. The 162 grain ELDX from Hornady compared to the 175 grain ELDX from Hornady. Now definitely there's going to be a difference in these two bullets, especially because the grain weight is such vastly different, but the 7mm will not push the 175s very fast. You're talking about 2,500 feet per second. So let's take the 7mm and put a 162 grain ELDX in this bad boy, and I'm going to put out for today's environmentals here where I'm at. Like say I'm hunting today, 37 degrees, 47% humidity. We have a density altitude of 5,000 feet. Okay, so it's pretty cool, pretty low density altitude comparable to where I actually live. I'm at 5,200 feet, but the density altitude is actually about 5,000 today. So if you look at just pure hunting numbers for the 162 ELDX, say, theorizing 1,500 foot-pounds being the ethical amount of energy needed to penetrate large game like an elk, penetrate and get good expansion and good vital damage and all that stuff with the 162 ELDX, let's say 1,500 foot-pounds, you're looking at a useful range, meaning an ethical hunting range. Let's just make the baseline 1,500 foot for our ethical hunting range. You're looking at an ethical hunting range of about 500 to 525 yards. That's actually pretty stinking far compared to most hunting scenarios and most ethical ranges for hunting for most people. Okay, broad spectrum. Now don't get me wrong, there are people out there that can hunt and have hunted a lot further than that and taken game at a lot further distances than that. But let's say for an elk, 1,500 foot-pounds with the 162 ELDX going 2,650 feet per second. So it's a pretty moderate velocity, say a normal sized rifle, a lightweight rifle. You're still good out to about 500 to 525 yards. Now, if you dial that down to like a whitetail or a pronghorn, assuming 1,000 foot-pounds being the ethical muzzle velocity energy that you need to get through one of those game and reliable expansion and all those good things and actually do considerable damage, you're still looking at about 875 yards that you could ethically, bullet-wise, construction and velocity and foot-pounds of energy-wise, get a bullet through that type of animal. I'm not saying it's an ethical distance to hunt at, I'm just saying the bullet, the energy, the muzzle velocity is capable of it at those ranges. All right, so now let's jump in and compare that directly to the 160 or the 175 ELDX out of a 7 PRC, same atmospheric conditions, moving about 2,850 feet per second. So you're going considerably faster than the 7.8 is with a little bit heavier bullet. You're definitely getting a ballistic advantage here. Your 1,500 foot-pound threshold of energy is about 850. So yes, you gain about 350 yards of useful range out of that bullet, and it's definitely shooting a little bit flatter. I'm not saying it's not a better bullet. I'm not saying it's not a more capable bullet, and I'm not saying it's not a more capable cartridge at longer ranges. What I'm saying is, it's not actually necessary for most people. If you look for a thin-skinned game like a deer, you could probably take a deer ethically from a bullet construction standpoint out to about 1,250 yards with that 7 PRC. Let's switch back to the 7mm though. Let's do some other bullets. Let's say the 168 grain VLD hunting bullet from Berger. Let's put that one in at 2,600 to 2,650 feet per second. 1,500 foot-pounds is our threshold for, ethical hunting distance. You're still out there 500 to 525 yards. For deer, 900 yards. Easy. All right, let's pick another one off the shelf. Nosler ABL or the AccuBond long range. This is a great bullet. I've used and shoot them both in the 7 PRC, so I actually have some direct comparable data here. So let's compare that 7mm.8 with the 168 ABLR at 1,500 foot-pounds, 2,650 foot per second. You're looking at a useful distance of about 550 yards for ethical expansion on large bodied game, so it will actually reliably penetrate and expand on an elk. For deer, 1,000 foot-pounds, you're looking at 925 yards. That's pretty stinking far with a very small, lightweight shooting package. So let's jump over and compare that directly to my Bergara, my 7 PRC Bergara with the ABLRs, the muzzle velocities and stuff that I'm getting currently out of my rifle that are accurate loads, about 2,800 feet per second. Let's put this in the calculator, and we've got a useful hunting distance of about 750 yards for an elk. That's pretty far. That's a really good long range, but it's only about 200 yards further than you get out of the 7mm.8 in a comparable bullet. So the 175 ABLR compared to the 168 ABLR. Smaller package, lighter recoil, way lighter on the powder, and way easier and lighter on the gun so far as overall length and weight and all that good stuff. So looking back on it now, just reflecting on the data and reflecting on my experiences with the 7 PRC, I absolutely love what it offers so far as distance, weight of bullets, reach, flat trajectory, all those good things. It's wonderful. If it was just looking for a long range gun to just bang stuff at ultra long range or extreme long range, say if I wanted to shoot a mile or something like that, the 7 PRC is an extremely viable cartridge. For elk hunting, extremely viable cartridge. It is going to lay stuff out at very long distances if need be, and even at the shorter distances, it's going to make your shots easier so far as trajectory and just straight up energy and penetration up close. It's going to do it, but it comes at a cost. To me, and this is just off of my personal experience and the information that I've gathered from other people and asking and talking to other people about the 7 PRC, the advantages of it can be offset or outweighed somewhat by the disadvantages of inconsistency in ammo from the factory, especially Hornady. Sheer cost of the stuff is easily twice the price of what a 7.8 is. Your recoil is considerably more, almost twice as much, which is not a huge factor if you have a properly set up gun and you're using a muzzle breaker, a suppressor and stuff like that. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it is harder to shoot accurately with Magnum cartridges for some people. So I'm saying it just may not be necessary. Personally, what I want to try going forward is the 7.8 in a shorter light package, short action, lightweight package, maybe a standard size barrel, 22 to 24, something comparable to what I have in my 7 PRC, so I can give a fair comparison for accuracy potential or velocity potential out of the barrel burn rate and everything like that, and just to see what I can get out of it. I mean, if I can take a 7.8 that's lighter shooting with a slightly lighter bullet but highly efficient, highly ballistically coefficient, and highly flat shooting bullet, and get really comparable distances so far as ethical penetration on game and stuff to what I would ethically or personally shoot as a hunter, then why not? Why wouldn't you do it? It's going to be easier to shoot, cheaper to shoot, lighter to carry, and just as deadly. I'm not trying to say the 7 PRC is not worth it, because I do enjoy the cartridge. I have enjoyed shooting it. The ones when I've gotten some accurate groups out of my rifle now that I know I can get in that sub-minute range pretty consistently, decent velocities, and I can bang plates like nobody's business out to 800 to 1,000 yards with ease. It absolutely makes long range easier. It does, 100%. It makes that long range easier, but shooting it accurately is harder. The muzzle blast and all the kick and all that stuff is a little bit more than what I'm used to, but if I compare it to like my 308 that has no muzzle brake on it and stuff like that, and it's a fairly lightweight gun, they kick about the same. It's really not that big of a noticeable kick. The 7.8 is supposed to be a little bit less than that, so that'll be more enjoyable to shoot. I do know that my 6.5 Creedmoor and my 6 Arcs and stuff like that, my lightweight kicking guns like that, the really light shooters, I shoot them way better. I shoot them way better than I do Magnums, just because they're just easier to control and maintain. They just don't kick and fuss as much, and that's just going to be easier to shoot for most people. Some people it won't matter as much. Some people can take heavy recoiling guns and tame them down, mechanically with their body and all those things and shoot them just fine. I can get sub-minute groups out of my 7 PRC when I need to, especially throw a suppressor on there, and I got a new muzzle brake on there, everything. So it's working out pretty good. It's a comfortable enough gun to carry, comfortable enough gun to shoot, and it gives me some super long range capability, but I just don't think I need it. And that's kind of the point. If you don't need it, why would you have it when it's just not necessary for the context of use? And this just has to do with context of use, okay? If we're talking about ultra long range hunting on big game, bison, elk and stuff like that, and you want to go ultra long range, then go for a Magnum, go all out, get as much bullet down range as you can, as fast as you can, 300 Wisms, 300 Win Mag, something like that, 7 PRC, definitely, go for that. Get as much bullet as you can down range, as fast as you can. But if you're more of a normal type of person and you're just thinking about, hey, what can I hunt with that is more than sufficient for the game I'm hunting at the distances that I'll be hunting in a 7mm, and a 7mm 8 might just be the ticket for you, and it's kind of the one I wish I'd bought to go with to begin with. So going forward, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get me a 7mm 08. I'm gonna start comparing the two. I'm not saying I'm tossing my 7 PRC because I do like the cartridge and I'm gonna keep it. I may build a different rifle for it though, just something a little more consistent and more accurate, because the consistency and accuracy I've been getting out of this dude and across the board from some of the people I've talked to and so, you know, multiple different types of rifle and stuff, it's just not as easy to make consistent. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's not, I won't say it's a flawed design, the 7 PRC is. I think it's got a really good potential for being a great design, a great shooting cartridge. I think there's something in the secret sauce that's missing. And that's what it seems to be across the spectrum, across the board with most people I've talked to. Some people get great results off the bat, no questions asked, all ammo they try, everything they try, great results. That's not really the biggest takeaway I'm getting from most people. The consistency is not there. So there's something in the sauce that's missing. Whether that's a spec thing, Sammy Chambers, who knows, We'll get there eventually, we'll figure it out. I don't think 7 PRC is going anywhere. I can't see a reason for it to go anywhere. It's definitely nice to have that meat in your drawer when you need it, when you need to pull the hammer out and really put it down with something really big at longer ranges. Great, fantastic. But for most of what I'm gonna be doing and have done so far in my life, even when it comes to just target practice and stuff like that with the 7mm, I love the 7mm. I think they're an overlooked caliber in general that is just kind of overshadowed by like your 6s and your 6.5s, or then your big PRCs, whiz bangs, and then you got your old dogs like the 308 that are just kind of, you know, considered FUD cartridges that are just meh, you know, falling by the wayside, but they're still super capable. You neck that down to a 7mm, which is what the 7mm 08 is, man, you've got a whole different type of cartridge that actually beats the 6.5 Creedmoor in a lot of ways. Definitely when it comes to energy and hunting and all those good things, and it's more efficient than the 308. So it's kind of a good marriage between the two of these. It's that Goldilocks right in the middle. Let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna build one of those rifles this year. That's gonna be the project rifle for the year. I'm gonna build a DARPA style XM3 with I'm probably gonna put an atypical size barrel on it. I'm gonna go with the 22-inch barrel versus the 18 that was typical for the DARPA guns. But that's what I'm gonna build. Everything else all the same. And on Remington 700 Action, see if I can't make a sweet little lighter weight, lighter kicking, easier to shoot 7mm for heavy game at a little bit closer distances. Let me know what y'all think. Thank y'all for joining me again today. Remember to keep your powder dry, your knife sharp. Y'all be blessed.